Senator Scott, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Chair. I'm from the state of Florida. We have quite a few people have moved to our state from foreign countries, and we like immigration. But what's going on in Florida right now, people, they have no belief that our federal government has secured our border. They have no belief that there's a plan to secure our border. They are seeing friends and some families lose their lives because of the unbelievable increase in drug overdose with the fentanyl that's coming across the border. They read the stories about the number of terrorists that have been caught, and they know that there's so many people that have not been caught, so they assume there's a lot of terrorists that have come in the country since Joe Biden got elected, and none of this seems to get any better. CBP encountered 221,000 illegal immigrants along the southwest border in March, a 33% increase compared to February, and the highest number in 22 years. Most concerning is the encountering of a historic number of illegal aliens from countries beyond Mexico and the Northern Triangle, who now represent nearly 40% of all border encounters in March. In contrast to fiscal 2012, encounters of foreign nationals originating from outside Mexico and the Northern Triangle were 2% of encounters. In fiscal 2021, the figure had increased to 22%. First off, Mr. Nunez-Neto, how many countries are there, and how many countries are representing people that are coming across our border illegally now?
Thank you, Senator. It is, common each year to see individuals from dozens of nationalities at our border. I think what's changed is just the sheer volume from countries we don't traditionally receive people from, and predominantly that has been this year Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, which account for about a quarter of our encounters.
So how many countries are represented? How many countries are there in the world, and how many countries are represented of people that have come across illegally that Border Patrol has picked up?
I don't have the specific number in front of me, but it is normally, in the high dozens.
So there are about 200 countries in the world, depending on who you asked. And the DOREAL sector reported that last fall that migrants from 106 countries crossed their sector in fiscal 2021. That's just one of 9 southern border sectors. Ranking Member Portman said in March that there are people coming over the border this year from 150 countries. The numbers are staggering and reveal a fact that cannot be ignored. This isn't a regional problem. Apprehensions of illegal aliens from distant countries like Syria, Lebanon, Romania, India, Turkey prove that the Biden administration's radical border policies have sent a clear message to the world. Come across our southern border, it's wide open. The rest of the world clearly believes that if you can get to the southern border, you can come across. So, Mr. Nunez-Neto, do you believe our southern border is closed?
As the Secretary noted yesterday, Senator, there's no doubt that we are facing severe challenges on our border. I would note that it is in line with historical trends to see large numbers of countries encountered at the border. But again, the key difference that we are currently seeing are just the large numbers of individuals from countries like Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and Brazil, and Haiti that we are not accustomed to seeing at the land border.
Is the border closed?
The border has and continues to present a challenge for us.
So do you think our country has a right to have a secure border? Because, Secretary Marcus has come and testified, I don't see anything happening. If I'm a business guy, if I went into business and you saw a 33% increase in something bad happening, somebody would do something. I was down in the Arizona border a few months ago, and what the Border Patrol told me is this is the first administration that they can't say that they can see anything happening. It's just fascinating to me. We got people dying. About 1 out of every 3,000 people in this country died of a drug overdose last year. It's staggering. So let me go to Ms. Mendrala. So the Biden administration is supposedly having talks with Cuba now. So I'm from Florida. We have a lot of people that are Cuban descent. They know the atrocities of the Castro regime for decades. They were furious when the Obama administration had their appeasement, which didn't work. I can tell you story after story. I can tell you one story of a lady I know that after Obama's appeasement, the Castro regime cut off her hand, stuck in the mud so she would die of infection. And you know what her atrocity was? she complained that somebody closed a school in her area. And now we're back. My understanding is we're back talking to them again. We're talking about the same appeasement stuff that's going to do nothing. We have 1,300 people in Cuba prisons right now that peacefully protest July 11th. Some of these are kids. They're being tortured. They are going to die. I have not seen one thing the Biden administration has done. I've called the White House. The White House has not done one thing to call this out. And now my understanding is you're having conversations with Cuba. So are you going to take them off the state sponsor of terrorism list? Are you going to take away the sanctions? This doesn't make any sense to anybody I know and have watched all the atrocities and have had their family members put in prison for doing nothing.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. And I will say that we absolutely share your concerns about the human rights situation on the island. And President Biden himself, Secretary Blinken, and several other officials from the State Department and elsewhere in the administration have publicly condemned human rights violations.
No. Joe Biden has not said one word. I called Joe Biden. I called the White House and they hung up on me. Joe Biden has not said one word about the atrocities. He's not said one word about these 1,300 protesters. I asked him to do it. He will not do it. And by the way, I asked when this was going to happen, I said, you got to get the internet back on. And they said, oh, yeah, we're going to work on that. There's been nothing done. Or is there anything being done to get the internet back on? So these peaceful protesters or the other protesters can talk to each other? Nothing. They said, oh, yeah, we're going to work on it. That was last July. Not one thing has happened.
Senator, I'd be happy to follow up with you to share some of the statements that have been made publicly by administration officials.
Joe Biden.
I'll share that we absolutely share your concerns about the human rights situation on the island, the political prisoners, those that were protesting peacefully July 11th and desired to in days following and before that were arrested, remained in prison, many of them with harsh sentences, as you rightly point out, some of them minors. We have made those concerns publicly, and we share those directly with them as well.
I'd like to see where it is, because I haven't seen it. The president hasn't said a word. Number two, are you taking them off are you going to take away the sanctions, or are you going to take them off the terror watch list?
With respect to the migration accords or the migration talks that occurred a couple weeks ago, the U.S. and Cuba over several years, over several decades, brokered migration accords, 84, 94, 95, and 2017, to commit both sides to several measures that would promote safe, legal, and orderly migration. And administrations for decades now have met on a biannual basis at a technical level to discuss the implementation of the accords. And the meeting that occurred a couple weeks ago was a resumption of those migration talks to discuss compliance with the migration accords on both sides to promote safe, legal, and orderly migration. As you know, the challenges of Cuban outflow of migration is tremendous at this moment. Individuals spending their life savings, risking their lives in many respects, subjected to mistreatment by smugglers and traffickers as they make their way overland to arrive in an irregular fashion at our border. And so it's imperative that we work together with partners throughout the region and speak directly with the Cubans.
That's a yes, that's on the table, that you're going to take away the sanctions.
Oh, no, sir. I'm responding specifically to your question about
my question
migration
is, are you
talks.
going to take them off the terrorist watch, are state-sponsored terrorism, and are you going to eliminate the sanctions?
Oh, sir, I have no comment on either of those.
So if you have no comment, that's a yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.